Missing one word in your lease could cost you thousands of dollars. Do you know the difference between prorated rent and a security deposit? If not, you might be overpaying. These terms aren't just vocabulary, they are legal concepts that can save you or cost you a lot of money.
Welcome to LES, the English show built for immigrants. I'm Mr. Jones.
And I'm Leslie. This channel exists to give immigrants the real English that textbooks never teach. Today, we are diving deep into the language of renting an apartment in America. Subscribe so you never miss a critical lesson like this one.
That's right, Leslie. We're starting with the most foundational part, key vocabulary. Getting these terms wrong can lead to serious confusion and financial loss.
Exactly. A common mistake we hear from newcomers is something like, I want to pay the first rent money and the safety money. It sounds close, but it's not quite right, is it?
Not quite. A landlord will be confused. The correct term for safety money is security deposit. The security deposit is money the landlord holds to cover any potential damages to the property beyond normal wear and tear. You get it back when you move out, provided you've left the apartment in good condition.
I'd like to confirm the first month's rent and the security deposit required to move in. What about utilities? That's another word people see in lease agreements.
An essential one. Utilities are services like water, electricity, gas, trash removal, and internet. It is critical to ask, could you clarify what utilities are included in the rent? In some apartments, water and trash might be included, but you'll have to pay for electricity and gas yourself. Never assume.
That makes sense. It could be a difference of hundreds of dollars a month. Now, let's talk about the lease itself. I hear terms like month-to-month and 12-month fixed term. What's the difference?
Great question. A fixed-term lease, usually for 12 months, means you agree to rent the apartment for that entire period at a set price. It offers stability. A month-to-month lease gives you flexibility. You can move out with short notice, usually 30 days. However, the landlord can also raise the rent or end the lease with the same short notice.
Right, stability versus flexibility. That brings us to the term from our hook, prorated rent. It sounds complicated.
It sounds more complicated than it is. Prorated simply means you pay only for the portion of the time you use. Let's use an example. If your monthly rent is $1,000 and you move in on the 15th of a 30-day month, you only use the apartment for half the month. So you'd only pay $500. That is prorated rent. It's calculated to be fair.
That's so important to know. You shouldn't have to pay for a full month if you're not living there for the full month. This vocabulary is the foundation for protecting yourself.
Exactly, and that leads perfectly into our next section. Questions to ask before you sign anything.
This is such a crucial moment. You found an apartment you love, the excitement is high, and it's so tempting to just say, okay, I will sign and get it over with.
You must resist that temptation. A lease is a legally binding contract. Before you sign it, you need to ask some protective questions. For example, what is the process for getting my security deposit back when I move out?
What else?
You absolutely need to know, who do I contact if there's a maintenance issue, and what is a typical response time? Also, clarify policies like, is there a penalty for breaking the lease early? And what is the policy on guests staying overnight? A good landlord will have clear answers for all of these.
A good landlord will welcome them. But what if they seem annoyed or try to avoid answering?
And that, Leslie, is what we call a major red flag. Think of a red flag as a warning sign that something is wrong. If a landlord refuses to answer questions or refuses to put important agreements in writing, that is a huge red flag. It suggests they are not transparent and might be difficult to deal with later.
That's a fantastic concept. So what's another example of a red flag?
Another is being pressured to sign immediately. They might say, you have to sign today, I have 5 other people interested. This tactic is used to stop you from reading the lease carefully or asking questions. A professional landlord will give you reasonable time to review the document.
What if they promise to fix something like a broken cabinet before you move in, but it's not in the lease?
That is perhaps the most common and dangerous red flag. A verbal promise is not legally enforceable. If a landlord promises a repair or an upgrade, you must insist it be written into the lease itself before you sign. If they refuse, walk away.
So, spotting these red flags is just as important as knowing the right vocabulary.
Yes, now let's assume you found a great place with a good landlord and you've moved in. Eventually, something will need to be fixed. This brings us to our third section, reporting a maintenance problem.
Right. And how you report the problem makes a huge difference. Sending an email that just says, "My house is broken, please come fix," is not going to get you a fast response.
It's far too vague. The key is to be specific. State what is broken, where it is, when it happened, and the level of urgency. For example, for a heating issue, you could say, "Hi, landlord. I wanted to report a maintenance issue. The heating unit in the master bedroom stopped working yesterday. The apartment is getting quite cold. Could someone take a look as soon as possible?"
That's perfect. It gives them all the information they need. What about something more serious, like a water leak?
For a leak, the urgency is higher. You could write, "There appears to be a major water leak under the kitchen sink. I've put a bucket underneath for now, but it needs to be looked at urgently to prevent water damage."
I notice you use phrases like "as soon as possible" and "urgently." Some of our listeners might worry that this sounds demanding or rude.
That's a very important cultural point. In this context, it is not rude. It's about clarity and responsibility. In the United States, it is a tenant's right to have a safe and habitable living space. This means things like having heat in the winter, running hot water, and secure locks are not luxuries. They are legal requirements for the landlord to provide.
So, when you say something needs to be fixed urgently, you are simply stating a fact about the situation and reminding them of their responsibility without being impolite.
Precisely, you are helping them prioritize. For a less critical issue like a loose doorknob, you could say, "when you have a moment," or "at your earliest convenience." You match the language to the severity of the problem.
This is all about clear communication. But what if communication breaks down? What if a landlord ignores your requests, even the urgent ones?
An excellent and difficult question. This is where you move from simple communication to asserting your rights as a tenant. In the US, you have a right to a habitable home. If a landlord fails to make essential repairs like fixing a heater in winter, you have options. However, you cannot just stop paying rent. That can get you evicted.
So, what can you do? This seems like a very stressful situation. This has all been incredibly useful. I think it's time to put it all together in a full practice dialogue.
Excellent idea. In this scenario, Leslie will play the part of you, the prospective tenant, and I will be the property manager.
Thank you for showing me the apartment. I really like it. The location is perfect. Could I ask a few questions before I make a decision?
Of course, go ahead. I'm happy to clarify anything.
Great. First, what's included in the monthly rent? Could you clarify which utilities are covered?
Certainly. Water and trash removal are included in the rent. You would be responsible for setting up and paying for electricity, gas, and internet.
Understood. And what's required to move in financially? Is it the first month's rent and a security deposit?
That's correct. Just the first month's rent and a security deposit of the same amount.
Okay, the lease start date is listed as the first of the month, but I was hoping to move in a bit later, perhaps on the 10th. Is there any flexibility on that? Would the first month's rent be prorated?
Yes, we can absolutely accommodate that. We would prorate the rent for that first month, so you would only pay from the 10th onward.
Wonderful. One last thing. I noticed the faucet in the bathroom is dripping. You mentioned that would be fixed before move-in. Could we add a small note in the lease to confirm that?
Not a problem at all. I'll add a clause stating the bathroom faucet will be repaired prior to the lease start date. I can send you the updated lease to review this afternoon.
That sounds perfect. Thank you so much.
And that is how you have a confident, informed conversation with a property manager. Now, for a quick vocabulary recap. Repeat these key phrases after us to practice.
Could I ask a few questions?
What utilities are included in the rent?
What's required to move in?
Would the rent be prorated?
What's the process for getting my security deposit back?
Who do I contact for a maintenance issue?
It needs to be looked at urgently.
Could we get that in writing in the lease?
Excellent work. That's your lesson for today. Practice these phrases this week and you will feel so much more confident.
Subscribe to LES for a new English lesson for immigrants every single week.
And comment below with any of your own renting experiences or questions. We read every single reply.
See you next week.
Goodbye.